We're going to start with this video from Fox News about we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. These guys are just so slow to covering stuff, man. I mean, I know that because it takes me okay. Also, oh, actually, I'm going to start recording locally because that reminded me. I always forget to do this. Okay, but we're going to talk about this Fox News clip. Justin, evacuation suspended in Strait of Hormuz after Iran escalation. Now, I already covered this yesterday. If you watch me live, then you get to know about all this stuff way before Fox News finally covers it. But they might have covered it yesterday. They just maybe just now got to publishing it. I don't know. But all of this information was available yesterday. But also all the articles are just coming out now about it. So it's like, I don't know. I just think they're a little bit like mainstream media just tends to be a little bit slower to report stuff. I guess they have like, a responsibility to be accurate and all that stuff. All the stuff I don't have to worry about. I'm just kidding. I do try to be accurate, but I also try to get on top of stuff as quickly as I can in terms of the newer information. So anyway, let's go ahead and watch this video. It's only 2.5 minutes about the Strait of Hormuz. Like we talked about yesterday, Iran has made it like they have claimed like it's illegal to go across this there were two routes going, right? There's the one that goes through an island near Iran's border, which they said that's the one that you have to go through if you want, for us to maintain your security, like you will have to go through this one. And then there was another, I think UN recommended path near the Strait of, or near the Gulf, near the country, I guess, of Oman, like closer to Oman's border. That Iran said is not a valid path, and if you're going there, we cannot guarantee your security. And then apparently, I don't know if they've confirmed it or not, but they struck a ship yesterday. I'm assuming it was them, but a ship was struck yesterday, and since then, I think the UN has backed off, saying people should go through the secondary route, and people are still there's still plenty of traffic flowing, but it's all going through, I think, the Iran officially IRGC sanctioned route. So let's see what Fox News is saying about this, and we'll try and we'll see how they're feeling about it.
So turning now to more tension in the Middle East, an Iranian drone striking a Singapore-flagged cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz, putting some pressure on the ceasefire reached with the U.S. A UN agency now suspending its evacuations until the safety of ships passing through that waterway can be guaranteed. Jeff Paul is joining us live this morning from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Bill, yeah, and that attack on that Singapore flag ship at the Strait of Hormuz, obviously a major test of this 60-day deal between the U.S. and Iran. Talks are said to still be progressing, but this certainly derails those efforts to restore ship traffic to what we saw before this war even started. Now, some vessels had recently been evacuated through the United Nations International Maritime Organization's alternative route, but shortly after that ship was attacked by an Iranian drone, the group just announced it is now pausing evacuation of vessels. Iran's Navy released a statement saying this route is unacceptable and extremely dangerous. We warn all vessels to strictly refrain from any movement outside the designated route.
Yeah, so this is just like, let's be clear. Iran is just using this, is just doing this as a form of reasserting control over the strait. The UN contrarily or whatever, and it in the opposite manner was using this route as a way to try to wrestle the security or wrestle the what am I trying to say here? The ownership of the strait away from Iran, right? Iran has won the strait militarily. They have shown that they can control the strait. They can control who gets to go in and out of the strait, and nobody can do anything about it. America has spent a vast amount of my tax dollars personally to try to open up the Strait of Hormuz, and they failed miserably and were unable to do so. So Iran does control the strait. Now, so when the UN is doing this sort of stuff, they could have just said to all of these ships, just go through the normal channels that the IRGC has set up that they have designated safe, right? But they decided to try to do a separate route around that was not IRGC sanctioned. And trust me, that wasn't out of the goodness of their heart. That wasn't out of trying to get these like stranded ships out as fast as possible. The purpose of that was to try to wrestle away some of the power that Iran won militarily. And Iran said no. Basically, that's what actually happened. Now, Iran's going to say, like, we have not sanctioned people to go through that pathway, and there could be, security issues if you go through there, like maybe there's latent mines or whatever, like that we need to clear before anybody can go through any other routes. But essentially what they're trying to do is just reassert control that they had already achieved through military victory. So that's what's going on here.
Routes. General Jack Keane today on Fox News responding to the situation this way.
We're going to have to arm wrestle this out, make certain that they step back. This is going to get resolved. Either it'll get resolved and the Iranians will stand down and stop what they're doing, or we will force them to stand down.
How? Like, I'm telling you, how? Like, we already tried that. We already tried that. You understand that, right? Mr. Kane or whatever, General Kane. What's his name again? Keane, I think. Like, we already tried that. We already tried it. It failed. What are we supposed to do? I don't understand. What do you think we should do? Like, can you be more specific? Maybe I'll watch his longer video here after this too.
President Trump seemingly addressing the growing tensions last night while speaking to some farmers at the White House. He says the strait remains open and emphasized Iran could become a new market for American farmers, saying they'll use unfrozen Iranian assets to buy U.S. crops. Trump insists Tehran wants to make a long-term deal with the U.S. badly.
We're negotiating from a position of pure strength. They know that. And the strait's already open, and we're setting records of the strait. But we had to do that. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Now, during his latest stop in the Persian Gulf, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that they're not interested in Iranian press conferences or rhetoric. They are interested in seeing ships move through the Strait of Hormuz. He says if that is happening, that is a good thing. If it is not, it is a violation of the agreement and of the ceasefire. And he says they're going to have a problem if that happens. Bill?
Interesting. Let me go. I want to go see what that Keane guy was talking about. General Keane, which I think he's a little too old to be a general now, but let's go ahead and see like his full response to this, because he sounded I don't know. I'd be curious what he's thinking.
An Iranian drone strike on a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz near the coast of Oman is raising new concerns about the fragile peace deal reached between the U.S. and Iran just last week. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reassuring Gulf allies that their security is a priority.
We want to ensure that in any decisions that are made throughout this negotiating process, the interests of our partners and our allies in the region are always taken into account. That there is no part of this deal that's undertaken that in any way undermines the security, the stability, or the prosperity of any of our partners in the Gulf region.
He says he was going to listen more than speak. So here, what we can do and expect over the next 60 days is retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute of Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, when that drone struck, what were you thinking?
Well, it didn't surprise me at all. I mean, because the reality is, Iran, when they look at the Straits of Hormuz and what they were able to achieve when they first shut it down on 2 March, just several days after the war began on February 28th. And then we went to a ceasefire several weeks later on April the 8th. They achieved something with that. And that is stuck in their head. They believe this gives them geopolitical advantage over over their adversaries, the Gulf states in the region, and also some leverage with the United States. And remember, the MOU...
It 100% does.
Everything is in the future in the MOU.
Because that's the reason that we stopped the war. Like, that's the reason that we stopped bombing them. That's the reason that we stopped with the blockade. It was all because of this one action that they were able to maintain throughout the entire war. So... yeah, they did achieve that. They did achieve it militarily. This is it's ridiculous to think it otherwise at this point. You have to be living in a fantasy world if you want to do that.
Well, everything is in the future in the MOU over the 60-day negotiation period and then some, in terms of all things nuclear, ballistic missiles, support for proxies, and the list goes on. But the deal, an agreement that was struck, was over the Strait of Hormuz in the MOU. And that certainly is that it's supposed to be open, all lanes, clear the lanes that are not clear, and no administrative control what.
I don't think that was I thought it did mention 1 second. MOU text. Let me read it again real quick, or let me read the portion about the Strait. Okay, let's read the text real quick just to make sure let's make sure that he's being accurate. Upon signing this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts of the safe passages of commercial vessels, with no charge for 60 days only. Yeah, we'll make arrangements. That means it's up to Iran. Like that means it's up to Iran. That's the plain face reading of that text. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, in considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the IRGC will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz, in discussions with other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. So there's the official text. So he's just wrong here. It is up to the IRGC to maintain the security of the strait and to administrate like who's going in and out, at like under what circumstances they're going in and out, just for everybody's safety. So I think that he's just wrong here.
And no administrative control whatsoever. And here Iran is doing two things. One is they're exercising administrative control, and certainly that is prohibited. And what I mean by that, they're telling ships where they...
But it's not. According to the MOU, they are the ones who are supposed to be administering traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. I just read that.
Can go and when they can go in terms of what lanes. And two, you have to get Iranian insurance to execute that. That is absolutely prohibited by the MOU. And then obviously,
I don't think he's read it.
The ceasefire is what it is. And taking a cargo ship. Now,
dude, they got to get some younger people on, man. I mean, I know that the boomers on Fox News, like, they like seeing reflections of themselves. So they see this, you know, old ass white guy who like can barely string a sentence together. And it's like, you know, they really enjoy that. But like, they need to get some newer, younger people to come in and do these like it feels like every single like expert that they have on when it comes to military stuff is like 112. Like, I don't know. It can't, like, that can't be good for the future of your like company, right? I don't know. I mean, Fox News ratings are always high, so I guess it works, but it just seems crazy to me. I don't know why people watch this shit.
And taking a cargo ship. Now, why did they shoot at that ship? Well, because it was in a lane that they didn't want them to be in. A lane that's much closer to Oman and where U.S. Military forces are. So we're going to have to arm wrestle this out, make certain that they step back. And if they continue to do this, I think a couple of things are going to happen. The president is not going to let this stand. He's been public record explaining exactly where he is on the Straits of Hormuz. The MOU was kind of confusing in the sense, remember what it said? No restrictions during a 60-day period. And then when the 60-day period is over, yes, Oman and the Iranians are going to work out the details in terms of how to administer it to it. Well, that implies a level of control. The president spoke out very pointedly on that and said that's not going to happen. If there's any...
Then why do you agree to it? Then why do you agree to it in the MOU? We also just read that text as well. That's what's going to happen, man. If you don't think that there's going to be like fees or whatever on the Strait of Hormuz, you're delusional. Like, there's nothing America can do about that. And also, all of the Gulf states are currently in the process of lining up to make deals with Iran to, I'm assuming, get like better deals on how much they're going to be paying in terms of these tolls or fees in the future thing. And I think they're all going to agree in some sort of like you know, like on some sort of like generalized like operational agreement on the Strait of Hormuz where there's going to be buy-in from all of the Gulf states, but in particular, the people who are going to be profiting from it will be Iran and Oman. That's what I think is likely going to happen, and only time will tell, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Anybody's going to control the straits, it's going to be the United States, and we'll actually charge a fee.
I don't know why it does that sometimes.
The president spoke out very pointedly on that and said that's not going to happen. If anybody's going to control the straits, it's going to be the United States, and we'll actually charge a fee if a fee is appropriate.
How?
So this is going to get resolved. Either it'll get resolved and the Iranians will stand down and stop what they're doing, or we will force them to stand down. And step one would be put back in place what we were doing when we cleared a lane and we were protecting the ships to go through that one lane that was close to Oman. We were getting 55 ships through there a day. Or, if necessary, go back to project.
Not before the MOU. No way. No, they got, like, if there were any that were getting through, it was a very, like, I think, man, I can't remember. I think Dropsite had some reporting on it, but I thought it was like 35 over the course of like a couple days or a few days or something. Like, so it's like, okay, congratulations. But that's not, and they were all small vessels as well. They weren't large vessels. They were all very small vessels that could not like actually be, could not be, you wouldn't be able to get as much throughput in terms of oil, basically, if you were using those. So, because like if they were large vessels, it would have been much easier for Iran to target them and stuff. So
freedom, which is we absolutely open the straits physically and keep them open and maintain a presence there to guarantee that that's open. And obviously that would take some time, but nonetheless.
Great. Billions more of my tax dollars is what he wants to use to do that, I guess. Let's go ahead and read this quick article. This is about, so Oman has basically officially confirmed that there will be tolls going forward. Iran has already said that there's going to be fees, environmental fees or whatever, administrative fees, whatever they're calling it. And Oman has now also confirmed it, because before, I think yesterday, Oman had said there wasn't going to be. But now, after they struck this ship over near Oman's territorial waters, now they're saying that there is. So I'm guessing that this was like, Oman was maybe potentially testing the waters a little bit by allowing this secondary corridor. And then once Iran showed that it was serious, it probably backed off, if I had to guess. But anyway, let's read this. Oman tells allies ships going through Hormuz may have to pay, by Sami Adgarini, Fiona McDonald, and Ania Nussbaum. Oman has told European officials there's no way of going back to the pre-war status quo with the Strait of Hormuz, and transiting ships may have to be charged some fees, according to people familiar with the matter. While Omani officials said they will always abide by international maritime law, they added there could be fees for services related to depolluting the strait or helping ships navigate it, the people said, asking not to be named, discussing private matters. It's unclear if Oman said all these fees would be obligatory. Sorry, I got like something in my throat. Oman is analyzing systems used for choke points across the globe, including the Malacca Strait in Asia, said the people, an area where there are no mandatory shipping charges. The U.S., Europe, and Oman's Gulf Arab neighbors are increasingly concerned the Sultanate will set up tolling or fee system with Iran for the Strait of Hormuz. Eventually, they'll pay it. They'll just pay it. But I think there's going to be a more like regional agreement that will take place that all of the Gulf states will sign on to, including Oman and Iran, in terms of this administrative fees that they're setting up. French President Emmanuel Macron will meet Oman's leader Sultan Haitham bin Tariq in Paris on Monday as world powers step up efforts to ensure free passage through the strait continues. The two leaders will address the security of maritime routes, which depends on free and unconditional passage through the Strait of Hormuz, according to Macron's office. Oman's foreign ministry and its embassy in France did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Friday, the start of the country's weekend. Oman and Iran border the narrow waterway. Yeah. We already know all that. With U.S. and Iran now in peace talks, Tehran is insisting it will jointly manage traffic with Oman. Any fees for vessels could cost commodity traders and shippers tens of billions of dollars annually. Governments, including the U.S., U.K., France, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, have warned they would break maritime laws. I mean, technically not really. I mean, there is an example of this already in Turkey. Like, Turkey administers their waterway and charges a fee for it. So there is already examples of this existing. So let's see. Traffic flows through Hormuz despite shock container ship attack. Rubio rejects. I think those are just like article things. Oman is an ally of the U.S. but maintains close ties to Iran. It's sometimes dubbed the Switzerland of the Middle East. For its neutrality in geopolitical conflicts and mediating between Washington and Tehran before the war erupted. Muscat has sent mixed messages about the Strait's future. On Tuesday, it published a statement with Iran in which they said they would discuss how to operate the waterway and the costs associated with that. 2 days later, it signed a statement from the U.S. and Gulf Cooperation Council that rejected any tolls, fees, or attempts to assert control over the Strait. They said in the meeting, and they signed on to the statement that said that there aren't going to be any fees or tolls. And so I think that's good news, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said of Oman while he was visiting Bahrain. Omani officials have told European counterparts they are under pressure from Iran. The Islamic Republic fired missiles and drones across the Middle East during the conflict, including at Oman, and remains the leading military power in the Persian Gulf, despite the damage to its armed forces from the U.S.-Israeli strikes. Oman is caught in between a rock and a hard place, trying to maintain a balancing act between Iran and the U.S., said Badar Al-Saif, assistant professor at Kuwait University and associate fellow at Chatham House. Doing so has more or less worked in the past, but with the two sides at war and constantly trying to outmaneuver one over another, this Omani behavior will bite them eventually. Iran has already said ships crossing the choke point need to apply to it for insurance and signaled the policies will only be free for roughly the next 60 days, just like the memorandum of understanding said. The issue is a key point of contention between Iran and the U.S. as they continue negotiations over a permanent peace deal following almost 4 months of war. On Thursday, Rubio said Iran would have to keep the Strait toll-free and ensure ships aren't charged any fees if it wants a formal peace. Otherwise, he said there would be nothing stopping governments doing the same with other maritime choke points, and then we're going to have chaos. I mean, that's one of the consequences of destroying international law and, and going forward with this stupid war. It's a consequence. Like, I'm sorry. Flows of oil through Hormuz have picked up. Yeah. Most governments say ships should be allowed to sail through Hormuz without paying any fees. That's typically the same with other natural choke point bordering more than one country. The Malacca Strait is loosely managed between Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, with the countries charging vessels for any navigation and security services that are needed. There's another example of people charging for it. You can see the uptick here is still not nearly as high as the pre-war levels, but it is starting to rise up again. And they also have a breakdown by country, I guess. So Iran is like has increased significantly. Interesting. You'll also notice that there was Iranian traffic, and then here's the U.S. blockade. There was still a little bit of Iranian traffic, and then it went down a little bit. But I think that even this, though, is probably underestimating the amount of shadow fleet stuff that Iran was doing to get vessels out of their vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz. But anyway, there you go. That's this current situation when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. We'll see what happens in the future.